What's happening, friends? Welcome back to Dynamo DeFi. My name is Patrick, and on this channel I talk about cryptocurrency, decentralized finance, and economics. Today's video is another installment in my series about building a sample DeFi passive income portfolio. Today's episode is going to be how I would build a portfolio on the Avalanche network, and the first episode in this series was actually on Avalanche as well. However, that was about a month and a half ago. A lot of things have happened in the crypto market since then, so I think is a good time to actually update that video. And then in the future, I'll continue on to some new networks like Harmony and Aurora. Cool. And before I go any further, I want to emphasize that I'm going to talk about a lot of cryptos in this video. Nothing I'm saying is suggesting that you should or should not purchase them. This is not financial advice. It's just an example of how I would build a portfolio. You should always still do your own research before investing in any of these coins. Cool. So let's jump right in then. First thing I'll go through is the categories that I use to categorize my various DeFi farms. And if you've watched my other videos in this series, this will probably be a review for you. But I like to use 4 categories. The first is stablecoins. That's straightforward. So USDC, USDT, UST, coins that are pegged to an existing currency typically. And this is especially important when you consider some of the dips we've had recently. If you had stablecoins in your portfolio, you had lots of dry powder to buy the dips. If you didn't, then you just had to sit out and wait. And of course, this is going to depend on your own risk tolerance as well as how many funds you have outside of the world of crypto. But for me, I like to stick with 30%. Next, we have our high conviction large cap coins. These are going to be your coins that you believe in the team, you're willing to hold through a dip, sometimes as big as 50, 60%, but you trust that it's going to come back eventually. And large cap is, to me, that's usually top 100 over $1 billion. I don't really have a mid cap category, so a lot of mid caps I'd categorize as large cap for this, but that's going to depend on your own preference. High conviction small cap, same concept, but for smaller coins. So many of these would be DEXs, play to earn games, or just smaller DeFi projects. And like I said, typically out of the top 100, under $1 billion would be what I would consider small cap. And a lot of these are still solid teams. They're just a little bit riskier because they are smaller and they haven't cemented their status as a blue chip in the world of crypto yet. And sometimes they also are more inflationary. And then finally, we have what I would consider the Moonshot degen projects, and 10% really is the max for this. You know, I almost hesitate to say 10% because usually it's more like 5%, but these are your small projects that either have a really high APR or are a really low market cap and you think can just blow up and be a 100x play. And so these are the most risky, but also the highest reward. And I always like to have some of those because it really rounds out the portfolio. Cool. So let's jump after that into the protocols that we're going to look at today. First place is Beefy Finance. Beefy is a great app. It's on Phantom, it's on BSC, it's on a number of networks, and it's an auto compounder. And they also have farms across different protocols. So this is where we're going to go to actually find farms today. And Beefy, very battle tested. Next up, we have Trader Joe. Trader Joe will be able to find these farms through Beefy, but a lot of the things we'll farm will actually be on Trader Joe. This is the leading decentralized exchange on the Avalanche network, and they have pretty solid rates, despite the fact that some of them have come down. We'll also use Curve. Curve is the largest project by TVL in all of DeFi, and they are on the Avalanche network. And this is the stablecoin swap, so there's a lot of good stablecoin pools on here. We'll also look at some smaller protocols where you can earn some higher yields as well, and we'll go through those when I get to them. Cool, so let's go back to Beefy. First thing I have is I sorted this by TVL because we'll look at some of the larger pools, and these will be a bit safer. And so let's go back to our portfolio, and we can see that the first thing we need to do is find a good stablecoin farm. So usually 15 to 20% is a solid range for this. The yields have come down a bit recently, but there are some opportunities where we may find something a bit better on Avalanche. So let's go back to Beefy. And one way you can find farms on here is for stablecoins. You can actually change this to stable LPs. So this will switch to only show you stable LPs. And I'm going to sort this by APY. So these are the highest interest stable LPs that you can use on Beefy. And you can see, for example, BUSDE and USDTE you can actually earn 31% APY, and that's pretty nice. I'm not too familiar with Olive Swap, so I would have to do some research on whether it had been audited before I put funds in there, but that is a very nice pool. Trader Joe, USDT, USDTE, so basically two different versions of bridged USDT. You can earn 18% APY. And you know, that's tough to complain about. That's probably 18, almost 30 something X what you'd get in a bank account. So, you know, I'd be pretty happy with that, and I trust Trader Joe quite a bit. I do, however, happen to know that there are a few a bit more lucrative farms on Avalanche. So there's one called More Money. This is a new stablecoin on Avalanche, and if you provide liquidity for it on Curve, they're offering 55% APR right now. Not bad. And then there's also Defrost Finance, which I covered in my video a few days ago, and they have their coin H2O, which is a stable coin. If you provide liquidity for that on Curve, right now you get 78% APR, although some of that is vested, so it releases over a period of 2 months. And yeah, I mean, this is a tough one because it really depends on your risk tolerance, right? If you want to be safer, you want your stable coins to be in something that you can totally trust, even though both of these protocols are audited, and I really like Defrost especially. You want it to be something that is more battle tested, then you might just go with the Trader Joe pool, get almost 20%, and call it a day. I'm going to say for my portfolio, I'm actually going to go with Defrost. I like this project a lot, and so I'm going to say 78% basic APR on stables there, and that's going to be a very good day. So going back to our portfolio, now we want to get some high conviction, large cap coins. And before I go any further, one thing I want to emphasize is you really only need 1 or 2 farms in each of these categories. You don't need more than 5 things to round out a portfolio and be diversified. Personally, I don't just farm one ecosystem. I'm usually farming 2, maybe 3 ecosystems at a time. And then I'll either have all 4 of these categories in one ecosystem or 3 of them in one ecosystem. But more plays than that is really, you just start to sort of spread yourself thin because you want to be able to keep track of everything. So it's better to just have a fewer higher conviction plays, in my view, than to have all these little plays that you don't really know anything about. Cool. So let's go a bit further. And now we don't want stable LPs. We want some things that are going to be high conviction, but still cryptos that we can benefit from price appreciation. And if you're on the Avalanche network, you probably are bullish on AVAX. If not, perhaps you want to find a network whose main coin you are bullish on. And so first thing that jumps out is this pool. AVAX on Aave, boosted by Grape Finance, is 41% single-sided on AVAX. That is very, very nice. It's very rare to see yields that good single-sided on a coin like AVAX. So right now, this is my top farm. Next, I see Try Crypto on Curve. So this is going to be BTC, ETH, and Tether. And 25% APY. Again, that's solid. AVAX paired with a stable, either USDC or MIM. I'd probably steer clear of MIM right now. But USDC, 56%. Again, solid. Although I'd probably go with the 41% on AVAX itself over that. ETH AVAX is nice because then you're getting exposure to both ETH and AVAX and you're getting 29%. And yeah, there's lots of good options in here. But I'm going to actually stick with this AVAX itself at 41%. Because, that's just getting very nice exposure to AVAX, coin that I like, coin that I'm bullish on. And I'm earning 41% yield on that portion of my portfolio, which is huge. So now I'm earning 79% on stablecoins, and then I'm earning 41% on my high conviction large cap, which is AVAX. And so now what we want to do is find a high conviction small cap. And although it didn't totally work out this time, typically the way this works is the yields will go from smaller to larger as we're going from lower risk to higher risk. This didn't quite work out this time because Defrost Finance is a smaller protocol, so the stablecoin yield is actually higher than the AVAX yield. But in this case, for the high conviction small cap, we're going to look for something that has a higher yield than these two, or at least higher than the AVAX. Cool. So, and now this is going to come down to which small coins in the ecosystem are you bullish on. And you could sort by TVL, or you could go up here and sort by APY and start looking for things that are, not totally degen, but that you still like. Perhaps you like Platypus. That is a fast-growing stable swap on AVAX, and you could earn almost 1% daily on it. That is very nice. The one that I'm actually looking at is CRA, Cribata. That is a fast-growing game, sort of like Axie Infinity. That's on AVAX, but it involves fighting and using crabs and stuff. Usually, one thing that I find is if you look at whatever's driving people to a layer 1, that tends to be correlated with the layer 1, but perform it better. So if Cribata is driving people to use AVAX, gaming is driving people to use AVAX, then that's what I would want some exposure to. So in this case, I'm going to go with Cribata. And there, like I said, there are a lot of good small caps here. Joe AVAX is somewhere on here. You could do that, and that's going to have a decent yield as well. But I'm going to go with Cribata, and it looks like the APR, not compounded here, is along the lines of 165%. So as I said before, it is higher than the previous yields, which it should be because this is a smaller cap coin. So it's inherently riskier. And so now we now have our small cap as well, and that's going to be an AVAX Cribata pool earning about 165% APR. And that's a very nice yield and two very nice coins. Finally, we want our Moonshot or Degen project. And if you're looking for node projects, those would fit in this category as well. I would say maybe certain ones like strong nodes you might consider a small cap at this point. But I would say most node plays are going to be here. I'm personally not really covering too many node plays anymore just because too many of them kind of crashed. But the leading one, I'd say one of the leading ones in general, and the leading on AVAX is Thor Financial. So one might look here as a sort of higher risk play. You might consider this a small cap even, but this one you're going to be getting 1 to 3% a day right now, although those rewards are going down soon. You might look at some sorts of DAOs in this category as well. But what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to stay on Trader Joe. So rather than looking for a Degen protocol that has high yields, I'm going to look for a small coin on Trader Joe that has high yields, because newer coins often have the highest yields. And again, you could go to Beefy and sort by APR here. But if we just go to Joe, then we see, for example, PTP that I mentioned a second ago, 271% APR. That is very nice. Another one is DCAU. This is another game. Like I mentioned, gaming is becoming pretty big on AVAX. And so that's actually going to be my pick. I'm going to go with AVAX DCAU with a 212% APR. The market cap of this is somewhere between 10 and 20 million, so it definitely is in the moonshot category. If this blew up to a larger market cap of several hundred million, that would be enormous gains. And even if it doesn't, we're still earning an incredible APR. And actually, I was a bit wrong. So the farm APR is 212%, but it also has a pool APR of 144%. So that means when you add those together, the APR is more like 350%, and that's not compounded. So you can see compounded, we're looking at over 1,000% APY. Can't complain about that. In fact, I am very happy with that, because that's pushing 1% a day, really pushing 1% a day. And so then, yeah, that's our portfolio. Rounded out, we've got stablecoins in Defrost Finance. We have our high conviction large cap play in the form of AVAX on Aave, boosted by Grape Finance. Then we have Cribata and AVAX small cap play for about 165% APR. And then we have our DCAU AVAX, another smaller gaming play, and that's going to be looking at 360% APR. And again, you should still, if you're looking for a portfolio yourself, find coins that you have conviction in, because you need to be able to hold them through a dip if you want this strategy to work. But, just doing some math, on the top of my head without actually plugging it into a calculator, if you put $1,000 into this with these allocations, then you're probably looking at like $5 a day, maybe even a little more. And that might not seem like a lot, but if you did that for a month, then you have a few $100s, and you can then reinvest that into another small cap that you have high conviction in, and that's how you grow your portfolio, because you're investing in it basically risk free, because you got the money for free anyways, right? You got it for just providing liquidity, and so you can reinvest it, and then if that grows, you take profits and spread them out across these strategies, and just rinse and repeat until your portfolio gets larger. And that's basically all there is to it. If you have any other videos that you want me to do in this series, be sure to drop a request down below, And if you enjoyed this, please like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitter. That's all I got today. Till next time, this is Dynamo DeFi.